Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Small Business Virtual Town Hall. I'm Dan McKee, Lieutenant Governor, State of Rhode Island, and I'm trying a little different backdrop, getting out of my office. I'm getting a little claustrophobic in my office, so I figured I'd bring it out to our living room and share, the picture in back behind us. That's the party picture. So in our house. So welcome here, and thank you everybody for listening in. I think we got another very valuable presentation today, talking about the SBA issues along with the DLT issues, which become even more important as we head into the new world without the $600 bonus and what's coming. And we don't have a clear picture, but we have some ideas of what's being talked about today. So what we're going to do, and also the Small Business Coalition is forming, and Chris Parisi and Judah from the CrossFit in Smithfield is going to be on to talk about, the activity that's going on there, which is very important. One of the things that we're working on right now, which is interesting, the small businesses all over the state of Rhode Island, and they have all different shapes of form. And some of our small businesses do, in-house sales on online or on Amazon or wherever it is. And, I'm getting a little brief story right now about some problems that during the COVID that major corporation is causing many small businesses in Rhode Island and around the country. So we're going to dig deep into that, and next week we're going to come back with a story on that. So my point is, if you're listening and you have a small business of any kind, because they're all important, it's not just another ice cream shop or another travel agency or another hair salon. They're important to the communities, the people who run the businesses, along with the people who do business with them. So if you have a story out there, just like that vendor that has shared that with me on the Amazon problems that they're having, share it with our office. You can go ltgov20@gmail.com, and then we'll follow up. I know we can't guarantee everything, but we can guarantee we'll follow up on your behalf. So, let us know. Call our office at 222-2371. Thanks, Ben, for putting that up there. And if you're listening out there, we have many people that are sharing this broadcast because it's got such valuable information. And we know that we're helping businesses every day, small businesses every day, and helping the economy. So let's start off. I'd like to bring on Joe Rodeo from our office, if he's back there, Ben.
He's not.
All right, he'll be coming off a call. He'll be on shortly. He has a weekly 11 o'clock call that. Here he is. Oh my God, you got the face mask. You know what, Joe? Thank you for the reminder, because I got to get a face mask. It's right around the corner from in my hallway, and I'm going to go get it very shortly when I bring Mark Haywood on. But Joe, a lot of things going on right now, right? Thanks, Joe. Liz Tanner is not on the show today.
We'll have to get again next week.
But I'm curious to see how many people come on with their face masks. I got mine around the corner. Hi, Mark. Hi, Matt. Oh, that's it. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Looking good. You went with Patriots instead of the Mickey Mouse.
So it's New England Patriots this week. And there are more. I have plenty more.
Matt's like me. He's got one. He's got a tie around the back.
Okay, I'm back.
That's right.
I'm back. And
I like it.
This is a design mask that my wife Susan picked up for me, and I'm trying to be color coordinated with my blue tie and my blue mask.
Very nice.
Looks good, Governor.
Thanks a lot. So we got stuff going on, right? We got stuff going on. Oh, look at the masks. I didn't know I was going to get caught in my ears here, but Mark.
Yes.
Give us an overview of what's going on with the SBA, and I know that we've got questions, and I know that we're in that spot again where we might not necessarily have all the answers, but stuff is happening, right? Things are happening.
There's a lot happening. We had a call yesterday for 2 hours on what PPP forgiveness will look like. The platform is being developed, is almost finished. They haven't given us the permission for us to push that out to everybody as of yet. And remember, the agency has made it abundantly clear that we're not accepting any applications from lenders before August the 10th. So we still have a little ways to go. Part of that is because when yesterday HEALS, right, HEALS, I have to keep all of these acronyms. One one was Heroes. This one Heals. Was dropped yesterday. There is another tranche of money for PPP. There are some also some modifications. There's also idle money, advance money. There's also changes in regs, and so I think, Governor, what we're doing right now is until such time as we really have a good handle on this, because you don't want to throw forgiveness out there. For example, as part of the HEALS Act, Senator Rubio, Senator Collins, Senator Cardin, and Senator Shaheen, which are 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, have gotten together consistently on PPP, and they've done policy changes as they did in CARES Act 2. In this one here, there is forgiveness for 150 or less. There are a lot of things, and I read through it this morning, but like with everything else, legislation is not law until it passes, and it's signed, in this case, signed by the president. So we know that there's going to be some negotiations. We're not really sure as to what will stay and what will not. I will tell you that just about everything dealing with the SBA has, once it's been proposed, like what we see in the HEALS Act, really has been vetted on both sides of the aisle. So not much of that really has changed, but I don't want to be speculating.
Yeah.
And hopefully something will change. One thing I do want to talk about today, Governor, is it's noontime. Since about 5 o'clock this morning, I've had 7 people contact me. In fact, I think that was just one that just called while we were in the waiting room about their credit being hit by SBA Office of Disaster Assistance, and they never applied. Fraud is rampant. The IT and I have been going back and forth all morning where I'm sending him people. I can tell you that Joan Moran, my deputy, has had since yesterday, between her and Matt, maybe 15 to 20. And this is just in Rhode Island. So, I mean, this is happening all over the country. There's a significant amount of fraud, and it's almost like it's a organized effort to defraud the government out of disaster loan funds. So if anybody feels, I would first, if you don't have everybody can check their own credit. If you haven't checked your credit and you're in business or not in business, and somebody has hit your credit on a hard credit check from SBA Office of Disaster Assistance and you have not applied, please send me an email. Ben, if you have the email, if you could put it up there, it's Rhode Island _D. Thank you very much. Send us an email so that we can get that off to the Inspector General right away. Give us your information and the phone number, and you will hear from one of our criminal agents, most likely out of the New York office.
Do you have a sense of what that, why they're doing that? Are they looking to get into your personal information?
So this is what's happening. Without revealing, we've had 2 district directors, and I think there may be a third. So one district director in the West Coast, she had the bank called her and said, Samantha, we're all set with your credit check. She said, I never asked anybody to check my credit. She says, your credit was hit by SBA Office of Disaster Assistance. The long and the short of it is, when we looked on the other side of the court, and somebody had taken her last name and put her last name, Fine Bakery, had done a loan for $150,000, had got her social security number, and had the money sent to a bank in Houston. She's in California.
Yeah. So wow, that's scary stuff, Mark. So your advice really holds true. Let's get the word out. Take a look at the issues in terms of credit report, request, and if you haven't made one, and if it's a SBA connected, get the information to Mark as soon as you can.
Yeah, we want to make sure. Like I said, Governor, 7 this morning. That's 7 that I got. I know Joan and Matt have at least 15 more. And this is over the last 2 days. It's a real concern. And as I mentioned to the Inspector General, I'm becoming more concerned. And he said it's just flagrant across the nation. So we want to protect people, because it ends up being a loan that's in your name that's really not yours, and somebody else has got the money.
Yeah,
so you need to be really cautious about that. Yeah. The other thing is, we are recommending, because remember, September the 27th is the last day if you receive an SBA guaranteed loan that the SBA is going to pay 6 months for that particular loan for whatever it is. And the critical part of this, Governor, is the fact that that loan's got to be closed. So we want to make sure if you're looking at long-term working capital, that you start that process now. If you're having a problem finding a lender, let us know. We'll be happy to find a lender for you. We have Lender Match at SBA.gov, which is a great tool on our toolbox, but we're more than happy to help. But having the SBA pay for the 6 months of payments is really a tremendous advantage for a small business.
No, it clearly is, and again, those loans are still available.
They are.
PPP's still
PPP
available.
is still available until August the 8th. And I think there's going to be a lot of there will be. Joe, have you seen the new legislation?
I have. Yep.
So you've read the PPP side of it.
Yep. Looks like it'd be a second round for certain industries and that sort of thing. Is that
very focused, Governor, on many of the things that you and I talk about hospitality and retail and those who have been severely impacted. It really does provide them with a lot of long-term assistance, and there are a lot of different provisions in there. I didn't want to get into it, Joe, only because I'm hoping it goes through the way it is, but I don't know. Once we get on that other side, when the president signs it, we'll have a lot more information. But it does talk about the 150 or less and how forgiveness will impact those who have 150 or less. It does hold the banks harmless for any information. So there's a lot of good information in there, but we need to have it passed and then signed by the president.
Yeah, I think of the good developments going on, Mark, though, regardless of the new legislation, is that it looks to me from everything I've followed, the SBA is making a real effort to simplify, streamline that forgiveness for when it goes live. So I think folks that have felt in the past frustrated with it should will hopefully be able to take a breath, but let it develop. And it sounds like the SBA is making a strong effort to get it to a place where
I think I got to give Senator Rubio his due. He, Senator Collins, Senator Shaheen, and Senator Cardin have worked really hard on getting this as easy as possible. And I really do think that they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, so it appears as though there's other things in that package, but one of the things that I read, which I think is important for people to hear, is that at least the signal we got from in the report I read from the president, Senate president, was that it's about a 2 week. He's thinking it's about 2 weeks before this gets resolved between the House and the Senate.
And really, they're 10 days from the end of the expiration of the first one, so I'm assuming and hoping that
Yes.
they kind of back up to each other, so that in government, I'm Governor. You've known me for a very long time. You know that I kind of work on one speed, and that's fast.
Yes.
But I have to tell you that the SBA, we've been working on the fast speed for a long time, and it's people in Washington are not used to it. I'll be very candid with you. So.
Yeah,
those of us in the field are very used to it.
Mark, they're kind of like attorneys. They work on deadlines and they have this sense of how how it all works, and they're not really too excited about things until they're meeting the deadline. So, and the clients are like, "Hey, I got to get some help. I got some help." Those attorneys are, but if they know what they're doing, like Joe does, things work out.
Yeah, that's why they call it motions and prayers. They're praying for something. We just don't know what they're praying for.
Yeah. Ben, you got a question for Mark?
Ben.
I do. So, Mark, don't be scared. It's okay. Can you touch on sole proprietor LLC businesses in your overviews and guidance as you update us?
Yeah, I mean, sole proprietors and LLCs are eligible under PPP. There's no question about that. You're also eligible in your own right if you want to do working capital moving forward. You really should have a banking relationship and a good CPA and a good lawyer, Joe. Just FYI. I have always said a good lender, a good CPA, and a good lawyer will get a small business through just about anything. But the problem is you gotta communicate. But yeah, everything that I talked about for eligibility is still the same process as it was before. And there's been no changes. And I did not see in anything going forward that there are going to be any changes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark.
You're welcome.
Yes, thanks, Mark. And I think next week will be more, more updates. But the week after,
hope
you're going
so.
to have you should have some very solid information. And I thank you so much, Mark, too. I can tell you that I'm with small businesses or talking to them. We were talking about 30 small businesses yesterday. They're very, very thankful for these calls and the what you provide, for these calls. So thank you so much.
Most important thing for today, Governor, is if your credit was hit and you didn't apply for a loan from the disaster program, please reach out to us. We want to make sure that, thank you very much, Ben, for putting that up. It's really important because these are things that you're not aware of and a lot of people don't. So just being able to put that message out live, Governor, is worth every second that I spend on this program.
Absolutely, Mark. And, I got hit personally with a small line of credit, and it took me well over a year to figure, how to actually work it way through. It did impact my credit score, and it showed up on the credit score. And this was only for like a $3,500, $4,000 line of credit that they were able to figure out how to get through the process. And it was a process, from a small business point of view. You don't need the credit loss, and then you have to explain it. Get ahead of it if you can, and take Mark's advice if you can do that. Ben,
here's the irony, Governor. Two very senior people at Citizens Bank had their credit hit by ODA. And they're on the banking side of it. So it goes to show you they don't care when they latch on to something and they got somebody's name and they can put it to an application. They go ahead and do it. Ben, you have another question for me?
I do. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Mike says, what about the governor's comments that the loans available will be based on the viability of the business?
I think
that's
the state program, Ben. Yeah.
That's what?
That's not my program.
That's a question. The state program. Yeah. Thanks.
Nice. All right.
We're going to get to that state program, Mark, very shortly. But we're on a conference call yesterday, and our staff was more confused coming off that conference call on that $50 million of grants, and so much money is going to be spent on consultants to get the money out. And I'm saying, just get it to us mayors, Mark. You were a mayor.
Yeah,
you would have got your 500, 600 grants out in East Providence if you had $6, $7 million. You'd figure it out very quickly.
Yeah, the issue is, when you look at you got Mr. Moran over there who knows what planning and economic development is all about. He actually has a loan program that's funded by the SBA. He knows how to do this. It's not rocket science.
No, it's not. And unfortunately,
nothing against rocket scientists.
Well, when you need a rocket scientist, that's good. But when you don't need one and it's simple, you try to make it simple. Right now, we came off that call yesterday very, very confused, and the time frame is not working at the lightning speed that you're used to. That's
we're getting a lot of questions. So
so we'll keep you posted on that as we get more information.
You,
but thanks, Mark. Appreciate it again. We bring Matt in, and Ben.
How are you?
Everybody.
Yes.
Good to see you.
And Ben, would you put up our email address, the LTGOV20? Again, we had one person that was asking for information, so maybe others are actually. If you have a question that pertains to anything, quite frankly, in the COVID, virus situation, but in particular on small businesses and anything to do with the SBA. And Matt, welcome. Thank you so much for being here again from DLT. And I know that you got updates to give, and I've got some questions for you as well. And I'm sure you're getting a lot of. It's heating up, I would think, from a point of view of asking questions relative to some of the changes on unemployment right now.
That's right. Absolutely, Governor. Thank you. Just a quick rundown of the stats. As of Friday afternoon, we run these weekly reports now. The report tells us that 345,966 initial claims were filed. Now, a number of those are going to be duplicate claims. That happens when people think they have to refile every week when all they have to do is certify, or they could be fraudulent claims. And we talked about that. I'm glad Mark brought that up, that it's happening in the SBA programs, because it's not unique to what's happening at DLT or any labor program throughout the country. These are very well organized schemes. And I can tell you, without getting into too much detail, when we make adjustments on how we process claims and pay them, the fraudsters recognize those adjustments and make their own adjustments. And so it's a very complicated thing for us to administer, but we're doing our best.
Yeah.
I can tell you that 215,000 unique claims were approved, though. And that's after going through the process. That's from the beginning of the pandemic until now. And last week, 123,294 people requested a payment. So it's still an awful lot of people in Rhode Island's workforce that are looking for payments. A lot of them are working partial hours, maybe not working their full schedule. And we're dealing with those people every single day. As of last week, the time to process a claim and get it payment out the door went down. Claims are actually being processed very quickly if they're clean right now. I've seen some that I tell to apply in late afternoon. By the morning, they have a confirmation number and I can pay the claim. But for brand new claims, average payment in the account by 12 and a half days. That's down 0.2 of a point. So it's been trending the right direction. I'll spend just a minute on fraud. I saw in one of the comments a minute ago that we indicated that if people are having an issue, they can reach out through the email investigation, which is the email box, dlt.investigations@dlt.ri.gov. That's a fine resource. There's some information on our website. There is a verification tool, but it will only work if your claim was stopped. So if people think they, proactively want to go in and try to use it, it won't work for them if their claim wasn't stopped due to a fraud hold. So if you need to use that tool, you will be aware of it because we will send you an email or a hard copy mail if we don't have your email address. There will be instructions on how to lift that the hold. Follow the instructions, and hopefully it goes through no problem, and we can get you paid quickly. On the HEALS Act, which is the latest version of what we're dealing with, they made some announcements last night. Like Mark said, nothing's done until it's done, and we all know that. And there's going to have to be some negotiation. I applaud our delegation for pushing back a little bit on the unemployment components. Just from my personal point of view and all the claimants I've dealt with, I think the uncertainty is unfair to them. And I think that going from an extra $600 a week to get them through these difficult times to what now looks to be one more week of 600, they would, if it passes. So anybody who's listening right now, this is not actually true until it passes and is signed. The Republicans' plan that they put out of the Senate would give one more week of the $600, which would be this coming week when you certify. It would then change the $600 to $200. So that's a $400 reduction. It would be $200 on top of your weekly benefit amount. For somebody on pandemic unemployment insurance, if you get the minimum, which is $183 a week, you were getting $783, and now that will go down to $383. We have no control over that. So we process and approve whatever the federal government sets in their laws and regulations. We would send those payments out. The good thing is if it's a flat amount, we can do it very quickly. So there will not be a delay on Rhode Island's side. We did that work on the front end of this pandemic, and now we're able to do that. Where it gets very complicated, Governor, is that $200 would only go from now, or actually from August 1st until October 5th. After that time, what they're telling us we'd have to do is individualized amounts, which would mean that Governor McKee and Joe Rodeo and Matt Weldon all had different earnings prior to the pandemic, and we would need to figure out a weekly benefit for you that would not exceed 70% of your average earnings. That is complicated.
Yeah.
Through our professional group, which is a Association of State Labor Agencies, we've advocated on the Hill to say any fixed amount negotiated would be fine with us, because it's about getting the money out to the claimants. This is going to make it very complicated, and it's going to be hard to explain to people. The programming is one thing, and we can get that done, but explaining it to individuals, why did the governor get this much and I only got this much, and how come I can't get what they got? And those are the kind of questions we get. And with this many people trying to collect every week, over 100,000, we're not positioned to be able to handle that. So we really hope that the delegation can force some change in the negotiations and come up with an amount that's been negotiated that is fair, but is a level set amount for everybody. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. And hopefully we're going to see, it's going to be allow you to kind of move ahead with all the work that you've done, Matt, to position yourself to be very effective and very efficient. So hopefully it doesn't blow the whole thing up and you have to kind of start from scratch again in terms of how you're calculating.
I hope not.
Yeah.
We'll see. But we have a dedicated team, which we're going to try our hardest.
So Ben's got a question, I think, and I do have a question or two.
Sure.
So, and then if Joe may have a couple things he may want to talk about as well. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. Hey, Matt. I have several questions, and I would like to say before we even ask the questions from Matt, that the answer for most of these, if they're individual and personal questions, is going to be for you to send an email to Shay at ltgov20@gmail.com. Put all of your information about your claim and your question in that email, and she will get it to Matt. That is
And Ben, let me inject, a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, you're like almost working in our office now. I understand you were able to help out somebody that called you and said, "Hey, what's going on with that call? And can you connect us in with DLT?" So thank you very much for helping that one individual. The more people that get to our office, the more people we can help, because Matt's really doing an outstanding job there.
Yeah, Matt, thank you. That was a very personal situation for me. I had a friend who did not think that they were eligible for anything. And you and well, I sent them to Cheyenne, and then Cheyenne hooked them up with you, and you were able to help that out. And I know that it meant a lot to that family. So thank you so much for that.
Good. I'm glad.
Why would I not get the full payment this week? I did not receive the whole 600. I only received a portion.
Okay, so the unemployment payments are split into two. There's two components to a payment. One is the 600, and you did get the full. Everybody, if you get a payment, you get the full 600. The system can't process less, unless you have an overpayment with DLT. So if we've double paid you before, or you were working and collecting, even if it's 10 years old and you had an overpayment, I'm guessing in this case it's a new one. So let's just say they were maybe double paid for a week. We would then hold 25% of their payments until that's paid off. So if their 600 look more like 450, then that's probably because they have an overpayment. I would suggest that they send that email to ltgov20@gmail, and I'll get into that one and try to figure it out.
Can you clarify unemployment for gig workers? Are they continued to recertify weekly, or do they stop filing once reopened?
No, I would say continue to certify. So your rate's going to change this week. If something passes in the next week or so, it is likely that it will be retroactive from what I've read. So we will go in and true up your claim and get you any money we owe you. But right now, we're only going to be able to pay you your regular benefit rate. But just because the FPUC $600 is expiring doesn't mean you shouldn't certify anymore. If you're still out of work, you still need the assistance, keep certifying.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Ben. No, let me just inject here a little bit, because one of the things that Matt, is you're not a miracle worker. If somebody is not unemployed, was not laid off, they don't qualify for unemployment insurance, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and so we've had a couple calls thinking that, well, this is everybody's eligible, but they're still working. So unless they were on some form of a work share program, they wouldn't really be entitled to an unemployment benefit if they haven't been laid off.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I have two more questions that were emailed in that I have to thank you for mentioning work share, Governor, because I would have forgotten about these. How long can a company stay on this program?
It depends. Right now, it's a little more flexible. Generally, that you can be on it for a while. The issue is over a series of years, you're not allowed to be on it for more than so many months. Right now, that shouldn't be an issue at all. So if somebody needs to be on it for months to come, that's okay. We just need to continue to work with them.
Employer unemployment insurance. The governor has waived any penalty for using UI. How long is this waiver? How long does this waiver last?
So what the governor did is issued an executive order in March that would hold employers harmless. We don't have enough time on this call or the next 5 calls to talk about how unemployment taxes work, but I can suggest that essentially there's a table of tax rates and employers fall somewhere on that table. Their position on the table won't change based on any use that happened during the pandemic. And that right now, that executive order was continued until August sometime. For next week, I'll have an update on what that looks like going forward.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah. Matt, I have a question, and maybe Joe has one as well. That just prompted that too, kind of off the calls that I'm getting. The workshare program, does that have an impact on the long-term unemployment taxes that the employer is going to pay And if so, how do do you have a sense on how that would
Sure.
work?
Under normal circumstances, work share would be charged like any other unemployment charge would be, which means that if we pay out to your employees, it hits your experience like any insurance program may. And then when you have enough paid out and not enough taxes coming in, then your rate may change. Because of the pandemic, that wouldn't happen anyway. And then another added layer of protection is the federal government is paying 100% of the work share costs for the time being. So for months to come, until the end of the year, actually, week ending 12/26, the federal government's covering those costs, so there'll be no impact to the employer.
And there's been no adjustment on the rate at this point in time, or has there been on unemployment? So are employers experiencing any increase on the rate on the unemployment, that they pay in their payroll?
No, so tax rates are set once a year, Governor. We do it in the fall,
Yes.
November, using data from that's recent at that time. And then it's in effect from the next January for the whole calendar year. So nothing would happen until at least January.
Yeah, I hope that clarifies for one person who asked that question. I'm sure other people had the same concern that the high spike in unemployment, on the work share was going to immediately impact what they're paying, but it's an annual rate strategy, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, you have any questions of Matt?
I don't this week. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
Matt, you must be happy with the baseball season opening up because you are a fan, right?
I am a big fan. I'm a little bit anxious for a couple of reasons. One, my team doesn't realize that the season started yet, or they thought it was a one-game season and they played really well and then stopped playing. And two, with all this going on with the Marlins and the Phillies, I think we have to be a little bit concerned that the future of the sport is uncertain right now. So I just hope everybody continues to wear their masks and be safe.
Yes.
So we can return to normalcy as soon as possible.
Yes. Make sure that we're following the rules, Ben. Matt, I was at down in Westerly last night at a drive-in concert, which they've been very creative, the Misquamicut Business Association. By the way, I want to tell people that, there are some limitations on the parking on the state beach, but they are open for business down there. So don't consider that like all of a sudden, that Misquamicut beach is closed. It's not closed. It's just some restrictions on the state parking. But they did Matt, there we are. There's Ben and I with, and I forget, what was the young lady's name, Ben, that was there doing some work with you?
Oh, Jacqueline.
Yes. And so we were there and to your point about following the rules, right? I mean, they're improvising down there, just trying to make sure that they have some level of normalcy to their summer season down in Westerly, which, all our tourism is impacted, in particular on our coastlines around the whole state. So they're doing a drive-in type of strategy. The cars are coming in, they're selling tickets in advance, and they're having a great concert. And then they created a drive-in screen a few years back. They were putting movies on, but now they're putting it so that when Billy Gilman played on Friday night, they had maybe 100 cars that were sitting there in front of their cars or whatever, like an old drive-in, enjoying the music. But yeah, we're going to have to keep on improvising there until we get out of the woods here. And one of the ways is follow the rules, right? Follow the rules. It impacts us all. Your workload is not going to decrease unless we follow the rules and we, get back to a normal economy where the unemployment rate is down to the, what was our unemployment rate when this all started? Like it was inside of
under 4%.
Under 4%. Yeah. And today we're got to be a little over 10% or more, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right.
You guys stayed on for a long time, and now I have another question for Matt. If an unemployed worker declines an offer to return to work, what is the process for the employer to report that person to DLT to freeze their unemployment benefits?
So if that happens, then the employer should send the employee's name, the last four of their social if they have it, and a good phone number to the DLT protest box, which is dlt.protest@dlt.ri.gov. We would then put a stop on that claim, notify the claimant because they have obviously through due process have the right to appeal that decision. And we would then talk to the employee and the employer. And Joe's a lawyer, so I'm sure he's going to agree with this. Any offer of employment should be made in writing so you can prove it. That could be an email or that could be a text, but you want to be able to demonstrate that you made that offer. It can't just be I saw him one day. I told him to come back. He said no. It'd be very tough for us to prove that. So make it in writing to protect yourself if you're in the employer.
Yeah, and so the more people who are getting employed, the less stress it is on your office. So we want to see that happen. Just to share with you, I was at a small press event at McDonald's on Branch Avenue today, and the ownerships there. Remember, those are small businesses. They have to be franchises, but most of the, just like our Dunkin' Donuts or any of those, that they're usually privately owned by a private owner. And but anyways, they're hiring. Just to let you know, Matt, they're hiring. They're going to be hiring we wanted to hire 250 young people, and that with the I just want to make that point, because when we change the unemployment in terms of the compensation, many families are going to be looking for revenue to kind of fill in the gap. That
right.
program not only will hire anyone, but they're focused on the kids that are in high school or ready to go to college, because they actually, if you work 90 days with them, 15 hours a week, you could become eligible for about $3,000 to $4,000 of college scholarship. So there's many reasons to kind of be out there, and Ben's question just kind of prompted that thought in me that we've got to people will get back to, right now it's going to be important for people to get back to work, because there's going to be a gap there, and they have to do it safely. So again, follow the rules.
That's right.
Well, I enjoyed the drive-in last night, but I can tell you there was a lot more people on the Tunes on the Dunes last year when I went down there. There was 1,000 or more people enjoying the music last night. Even though Ben was broadcasting it to 1,000 people, there was just a couple hundred people there probably. So.
It was definitely different. Matt, I mean, the more you stay on, the more we're going to have questions.
I know, I got to go. Somebody call me.
Yeah, last one. What about back pay that's been held back for 4 months? I mean, I'm just going to, for all the other questions after people leave.
LTGOV20@gmail. It's individually based, so I won't know until I go in and look. Send those emails in. The governor's staff's done a great job sending those to me. I'm usually replying in batches. I'll look at them when I can, and we'll get answers to you as quickly as possible.
Matt, thank you. See you next week. Really
Thank you.
Appreciate
Take care.
it again. You're so much, so important to the people listening to the show. Joe, do you have any comments about we're going to have? Why don't you stay on for a second? We're going to bring Chris on, and then when we bring Judah on, we'll send you to the back room. But bring Chris on for a second. Hi, Chris. Oops, I'm having trouble hearing.
Chris, you got to unmute yourself, buddy.
There you go.
Hey, first time for everything, I guess.
Well, it's not your first time on, so you can't use that as an excuse. But Chris, thank you very much for the work. Joe, we've been talking a little bit in our office, and then I want to have Chris give an outline of the call that we had yesterday with a couple dozen small businesses, and we want more and more activity there. We had a call this morning on our staff, Joe, about like the grant program, and do you have any thoughts on what we should be really focusing on in terms of talking to the small businesses relative to the process that's being set up right now?
Sure. I mean, I guess my only comments would be broad, and they'd be a little bit away. I know Chris has a lot of thoughts on the process that's being put in place, but I do think it's important to keep in mind these are grant funds. These are not loan funds. They're available to small businesses that have been impacted. And before Chris goes through some of those requirements, I just want folks to keep in mind that cash is so valuable today, Governor. We've had that conversation a lot in surviving this difficult time. And these are grants. So I just hope folks won't get discouraged. They'll continue to monitor and keep in mind that to the extent that they're entitled to these funds and they'll be distributed on a first come, first served basis, I think it's really important to follow the process and be ready to go with your application as you get that information and it's out there, because just having cash in place and being able to survive for when things get back to a more normal environment is really important. So I hope folks will keep in mind and are following along to get that kind of detail to make sure that they don't miss out on this funding.
Yeah, I believe that the supply is not going to meet the demand, and I think the small businesses need to really pay attention because the more people who do apply, it'll show that there's really a demand that's far exceeds the 50 million. And we're going to continue to try to encourage commerce to simplify the process and not make. I mean, we're talking about relatively small amount of money in grants, 10,000, 15,000, 5,000, whatever it is. So hopefully we don't have to have our small businesses jump through too many hoops. But if you do, then our office will be there to help and assist as Chris and the coalition is. So,
and like you did with the PPP, just don't get discouraged by that. The office will help you out, and it's and it's important to have access to that cash these days, especially in the form of a grant. So please, hang in there.
Yeah. So at the moment, those the applications for those grants is not open. We're following that on a day-to-day basis, and then we will certainly send out the information far and wide when it does, and our office will help, if you have questions, again, go to that the Lieutenant Governor's site that Ben has put up a few times. So, Chris, welcome. Give us a little overview. Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, give us a little overview of the work that, the coalition is doing, and in particular yourself with last week you reported on a survey you did. This week we've had 2 calls since our last call on last Tuesday, and just give people the update of what you're trying to accomplish and how our office is being helpful doing that.
Yes, your office has been incredibly helpful, and obviously yourself, Governor. We couldn't have done this without you, and we're taking it to the next step. So the biggest thing this week was to establish a weekly call with the coalition members. We've had, you mentioned it was almost actually closer to 50 folks on the call. It was a Zoom link, so some video, some audio, because we really wanted to hear from the coalition, right? So first we did a survey to make sure that we heard from them, and yes, 85% felt that, over 85% felt 50 million was not enough. We were very clear on 10%, 125 million, and a majority of them, when asked what you want the focus of the coalition to be, said to continue to push for those small business grants. As Joe says, cash is king. Cash flow is so critically important for small businesses. Loans are nice, but they're already, have enough debt currently. So small business grants is really important. As the Lieutenant Governor said, the coalition feels 50 million is going to get taken up pretty quickly. And as soon as Commerce does open up the application process, in addition to the Lieutenant Governor's office, the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition will be letting everyone know as quick as possible. So it's important to go to rismallbusiness.org. Click the button, join the coalition if you haven't already. You'll be in our database, and we will communicate with you as much as possible. And as soon as it's released, we'll let everyone know, as it's a first come, first serve basis. Like we mentioned, 50 million may not be enough, so you want to make sure that you apply as quickly as possible. So Commerce did lay out what the qualifications at a higher level are when it comes to the Restore RI plan. And I know Shay put that up there for if anyone wanted more information. But, one of the things that they mentioned is that it was going to be 1 to 20 in terms of number of employees. And in addition to Lieutenant Governor's office, we said that is just simply, we need to include sole proprietors. There's a lot of salon owners, barbershops that may not have employees. So we made our demand pretty clear, and Commerce did listen and said they're going to look into creative ways to include, sole proprietors that, may have, other non-employees like 1099 or something, to be creative to ensure that they can be qualified for this grant program. Lieutenant Governor mentioned let's try to get this cash out quicker. We're going to continue to push for that. And Lieutenant Governor, if you wanted to kind of talk about your plan when it comes to the municipalities and towns. And
yeah, I think that's a positive right now. We've had this town of Forster, the town of Cumberland have passed resolutions encouraging, supporting the petition, Chris, that the coalition put up, where well over 4,000 people asked the governor to put the 125 million, make it fast, make it efficient, get the money out. So we've had Forster and Cumberland, and now Charlie Lombardi, Mayor Lombardi from North Providence, was public last week on the media, saying that he's going to present that resolution to the town council in North Providence. which will resonate. And we're in contact now with municipalities around the state, taking their questions, because it's interesting, Chris, is that there, as much work as we've done, and as much work as Justin, Laurie, and the rest of the coalitions have done, we've still got a long way to go in terms of communicating the information that we're communicating. So I've been on calls with municipal leaders explaining what the ask was, the difference between what the governor has done and what our ask is. Overcomplicating this process is one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about. And to actually actually kind of tell small businesses how to spend their money. Now, we were down in Westerly last night. Charles from the Windjammer, I had his hat on. He's on the water. He's still paying the flood insurance. He's still paying his overhead. And yet his volume of his business is way down. We don't have to tell him to spend it on technology. We don't have to tell him to spend it on payroll or rent or what. I mean, he may want to put it towards his flood insurance, right? I mean, the expenses that are going to, drown him, no pun intended, right? So, so it's important that our municipalities actually step forward. We still encourage the small businesses to talk to their municipal leaders, whether it's council members or whether it's your administrators, mayors, town managers. The more information that we are able to get public on this, the more possibilities that we're going to increase the number. If the 50 million is on track to go the way they're going, and if it goes, people in the small business community are not going to know for almost 6 weeks whether they're going to get money or not. That's when all hell breaks going to break loose, right? So maybe our request of the balance of the 75 million, let's get it out the way that we outlined it. Get it out fast. Let's get it through the municipalities, get it to thousands of businesses, and I think that's the message. But yes, the municipalities are starting to respond, Chris, in a real positive way, and contacting them would be very important to do.
And that's related to a larger point with the coalition, is that we're organizing. Obviously, we organized when it came to creating the petition, putting the press conference, and putting the pressure on the governor and commerce to ensure that small businesses are part of the plan and that we are getting help, and we're getting help now. But the organizing has just begun. On these calls, we're now having dozens and dozens of small business owners come together for a common good of what's in the best interest for Rhode Island small businesses, and taking it at a local level, talking to the local newspapers, the local municipalities, and your state reps and state senators. The way that we're going to really create the change that we need is that we continue to organize, come together, and fight for what we need, or else our voice will just not be heard. And that's what's important about this coalition. That's what we're most excited about. And we also have other initiatives in addition to continuing to push for the grants and continuing to make things more streamlined and efficient and pushing for sole proprietors to be included. We're also having to take things in our own hands and starting to fundraise. So one of our coalition members, who I know is on the program and going to join us shortly, said, hey, we need to help out small businesses. Let's do this, put it in our own hand, and let's start fundraising. So I know we're going to have Judith up shortly to talk about one of the fundraising events, just because 50 million is not enough. We know it's not enough, and we're going to do whatever we got to do in order to help our Rhode Island small business community.
Yeah, Chris, and we'll bring Judah on now. Joe, do you have anything for Chris?
No, Governor, I think that's my transition. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
See you later. Thanks, Joe. Oh my God, I tell you, again, Joe's been a great resource. Contact our office with any questions, and Joe's been part of the answers, so getting the answers. Judah, welcome here. We were just kind of talking. I want to just set this up a little bit. Is the fact that, and we have had some. I was mentioning about the Westerly Drive-In. The Misquamicut Beach Drive-In. And Ben actually has helped us do a fundraiser for small businesses that had to do with the microbrewers, a month ago or so, and they're effective right now. And the tunes on the dunes. Yeah, there you go. So we're very resilient as small business owners, and anything that we can do to get our message out. And one of your thoughts was to run a fundraiser of some sort. Let's get some media attention to the fact that we're not going away. The small businesses are not going away, the more chances that we get to be visible, the better opportunity we have. And again, this is the time for, I would say, anybody who's listening and going to be watching this broadcast, support your small businesses in Rhode Island. That's the message that we're delivering. But Judah, give us your overview and where you are right now, and what you're thinking is that Chris just talked about.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of like put some equity behind where my mouth has been in terms of like supporting small businesses. So talked to my business partners and such, and we decided that we wanted to do a fundraiser to raise some funds for some minority-owned small businesses because they're extremely hurting right now, and to give them some liquidity to keep them afloat through this trying time until the state money that does become available, or if they're not eligible for that state money. So the idea I came up with was doing burpees for business. The hope is to raise $35,000 so that we can give 7 $5,000 grants to minority-owned small businesses. And that money would be used to help them get by this transitionary period, them to help pay their bills. And, my staff and I are gonna do burpees. And so if we do raise the 35 grand, that's 500 burpees a piece for 7 of us. That was at $10 a burpee. Chris kind of threw us on into a hole. He gave us he made it kind of like one burpee for $5, so we might be doing even more burpees than that. But the whole goal was just to raise awareness to the cause, get the public to help out, and to, I hate charging people for not getting something in return. So they're going to get our sweat and agony in return for their money to help support some of these local minority-owned small businesses.
Yeah, so I think that's a great idea. And again, it's how do we get the media to keep paying attention as well? Not only the philanthropic effort that you put in there, Judah, but it's also so important that we continue to get the exposure for our small businesses and highlighting the challenges that we're going through right now, all our small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. We know, I want to talk a little bit about the minority small business owner. Look, we have the data. I mean, Chris was on a call with the Kaufman Foundation a few weeks back with me, and the reports are very clear. Yes, all of our small businesses have a lot of hurdles to jump, and it's not easy. But some small businesses actually have more hurdles to jump, and it's clear through the data that the access to capital, the access to information, and many other redlining, issues that a small business, a minority small business, is going through the loan process and takes longer than a non-minority business. That's a national stat. Rhode Island might be doing better, but there is a reason to focus on that area. We need all our businesses to survive, and I challenge anybody out there that has another sector of the just like we did with the microbrewers, Judah. We did that a month ago. We raised I think close to $4,000 on that broadcast, and the intent was to help the microbrewers and the music vendor, musicians who were out of work because of that the bars weren't operating. So anybody out there, I'll challenge anybody out there to, if they have another sector, Judah's picked this one as an important one. If you have another sector that you want to help, identify and raise dollars for, I'm sure the coalition, Chris, would back that as well.
Yeah, email us at info@rismallbusiness.org. We need as many volunteers and help that we can get, and we're only going to do this if we collectively come together. So, Judah, it's great to come forward and do this fundraiser to help out minority-owned businesses. You're going to be doing a lot of burpees, and I know we had another great one with the Brewers Guild to help out that industry. So, if there's any other communities, industries, or just small businesses in general, and make it equitable. The Rhode Island Small Business Coalition has the infrastructure and tools where we can help support the fundraiser that you drive. But we'll help push it forward and do whatever we can, as well as the Lieutenant Governor's office, because the fact that we got 50 million instead of zero is great. but we know that it's not enough, and the small business community is going to need more. So we're going to continue to push at this at the local and state and even the federal level. But we're also going to look at what we can do within our own community and within each other to help out.
Yeah. So Judah, when is that gonna? Have you put a schedule yet together for this yet, or is this still in the works?
Yeah. So yeah, it's in the works. We're hoping to do it. Ideally, we get the money, by Monday, and then any day next week we can do it. But we're hoping to get all the money in, or the fundraiser done, and the 35,000 in by Thursday, so that we do them either Thursday morning or Friday morning. The actual date is to be decided, but it's going to go down later, like a week from Thursday or a week from Friday. So.
Yeah, so
and you're more than welcome, Dan, to come in and.
Well, I've been to your shop.
I know. Well, to do a couple of burpees if you'd like, just to take a few off our backs. We have our mats at 14 feet apart, so everyone's socially distanced properly.
Would a push-up be okay? I'm okay with
push-up and getting back to your feet would constitute, so that would work.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, hold on. How much money would it take for us to get the lieutenant governor to do one burpee live?
One burpee live.
Let's make that a part of this fundraiser.
Well, that could be part of the fundraiser in the comments.
Burpee live.
That could be.
Well,
maybe for every $250 donation, Dan's got to do one.
Well, I'll tell you, Judah, you let me know the time that you want me over there on Thursday. I'll be there. And I'll figure something out. I was in the fitness business for about 35 years.
Exactly.
I'm not as in good shape as you are right now, but I still am a little bit of shape. I could you never know. But tell how can we help you let people know about this? I mean, is this getting posted on rismallbusiness.org,
Yep.
Chris?
Yeah, we're going to have an outreach strategy. Not only is Judah going to share it on his company page and to all of the members and his organization, we're going to share it on the coalition, Lieutenant Governor's office, if we could, share it as well. And then within each coalition member, we're going to share it individually, and that's how we can exponentially share this so that we can get it and maybe some press as well. If they want to highlight some positive stories, share some good news, and talk about how 50 million isn't enough, and we're putting our money where our mouth is, and trying to do, or money where our burpees are, and trying to do what we got to do.
Yeah, they posted the link in the comments. So anybody who's listening, if you could take that link, and if you believe small businesses are crucial to the state, and you want to help out minority small businesses as well as make me do some work, really appreciate sharing that link, as well as clicking that link and donating $5, $10, whatever you can afford to give, or you'd be willing to give. So, every dollar counts, and and we're ready. So.
Plus, we'll have some fun with it. We're going to live broadcast it so that we can watch Judah and his team do these burpees and root them on.
That's going to be a long broadcast.
Well, I think it's great that you come up with the idea, Judah. You've been very active with the coalition, and I know that your voice has really mattered. So, not just for the fitness centers that, when we first met talking about the fitness industry, but across the board, all our small businesses are important. And that's why I challenge anybody out there that wants to duplicate something like Judah's doing. Come up with your theme. It could come into a minority community, but it could come into a non-minority community. It could come into one of our rural areas that are really important. I mean, I've delivered this message over and over and over again as a statewide officer. We have 39 cities and towns. Everyone's important, and the communities that make up those communities important. So the broader we can get, and I mean, that's one of our goals, Chris and Judah, is to distribute whatever funds, whatever grants. Let's make sure that every community in the state of Rhode Island gets a proportionate share of that, so every community can, have that opportunity to help, restore an economy that we want restored, right? So, Judah, thank you so much. I'll be there. I may have to go online and get a little lesson here on the burpees, but
we'll show you, Dan. It's easy.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm worried about. All right, Judah, we'll talk.
All right, thanks.
Chris, just the last, before you get off, small businesses that are interested in joining the call that we'll have next Monday at 11 o'clock, what's the best way to kind of get that information, or at least signal that they want to be involved?
Yeah, it would be to email us at info@rismallbusiness.org. We've already received a bunch of emails over the past few days of others that wanted to be on the call, not only to listen, but to provide some suggestions. And before the call, which will be Monday at 11 a.m., feel free to send your thoughts and suggestions, and we can add it to our agenda because we know how important time is as a small business owner. So we want to be efficient on the call. So feel free to send those ideas as well as let us know that you'd want to be on it. And then you'll receive a calendar invite with a link to the call.
Yeah, and Chris, thank you for your leadership on this as well. I mean, our overall goal is to, help these small businesses survive during this crisis that we're in. But also, we're really looking forward to, down the line to create a small business friendly state. And we know that we've struggled in that area. And the more of our small businesses that coalesce like you're putting them together, the larger our voice is going to be, and actually the more business friendly we're going to become for our small businesses as a result of that. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you. Yeah. So that's our broadcast today. For those who are just tuning in, you can watch this on our Facebook page. And Mark Hayward had some valuable information, including fraud experiences that are going on, and Matt Weldon from DLT clearly is in a transition mode, so there's going to be many questions, so get that information to us. And then the rismallbusiness.org, they're doing an extraordinary work right now, and we're going to keep everybody posted about the available grant money. Like Chris said, $50 million is far more than we had before we started to really advocate for the small businesses, but we need a lot more. And there's much more to do. And for a little fun, burpees, look it up if you don't know what a burpee is. And maybe this is your introduction I know that one of the most important things we can do during any time, but during the most stressful times, is to make sure we take care of our health. So follow the rules as far as the COVID goes. Wash your hands, keep the social distancing, keep the mask on. And in addition to that, I'll put my former small business hat on, being in the fitness industry. This is the time to use to make sure that you're taking care of your health. So we'll see you next Tuesday on the RI Small Business Virtual Town Hall. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody who's tuned in and asked their questions, thank you so much.
And if they raise the $35,000, you will do burpees?
I'm going to be there with Judah on Thursday, and he's going to give me a time I'm going to show up, and I am going to do the best I can to do as many burpees as I can without getting hurt. That may be maybe two. I
just got fired. I talked to Shay and Andrea. I have your speech from last night at Mesquamicut if you want to end on that.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Or whatever, but so we're glad you're here. So make a lot of extra noise for them at home as well. I want to bring up one more special guest before we introduce Al. He's a guy that has been a tremendous friend to Westerly. He is always there at the other end of the phone when any of the people of Westerly need something. The business community, he comes to all of our events, supports our events, and he's a great guy. Would you please welcome the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island, Dan McKee.
I got a couple jokes. That's good. Yes, I understand about the darkness now, guys. I didn't understand that before, but yes, we can't see absolutely nothing except for that light there. But I want to give a shout out to my friend Ben Barber, who's been helping me, do these broadcasts, helping small businesses out and having a community conversation every Wednesday night. So we know thousands of people are out there watching this right now. So we want to deliver the message that, Mesquamicut Beach is open for everybody that's out there that's wondering. One of the state parking lot is being controlled in terms of capacity levels. We want you to follow all the rules and everything else, but we want to make sure this economy gets going. And here in Mesquamicut Beach is an area that's very, very important to the state of Rhode Island and all the people who live here and frequent here. So just deliver the message, Ben, out there that Mesquamicut Beach is open. And so come on down and make sure you take advantage of that. And finally, this drive-in concept is a fantastic one. It brings back many memories when we actually went to the drive-in and enjoyed our summer evening. So congratulations to the Musqueamicut Business Association, along with the town of Westerly and the leadership of Caswell, for really having this here. I think that this is a great example of improvising during a very difficult time. So stay healthy, and thank you so much for the warm welcome that I get every time I come down here to Westerly. And I got my Windjammer surf bar hat on here right now, so I wear that all around the state of Rhode Island. And they say, where's that from? I say, it's from Westerly, Musqueamicut Beach. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor.